having been there before independence, when the British colonized us, and now that we are on the verge of being colonized by the Chinese, do you feel any different?
There is a great difference.
Okay.
The British government occupied our country in 1800. They took all the land, the fertile land, and they left the Africans without a place of cultivation, and they moved them to special places
Okay.
where they could not help themselves. Now, there is a great difference because today we are an independent Kenya.
Okay.
At that time, we were colonized by other people from another country. Therefore, it is great pleasure to feel that I am in an independent country as an independent person.
The feeling,
That is the difference.
Just the feeling. And for the people, the story about the struggle is very long and interesting, but I'm particularly curious about kuna wakati watu walienda kupigana vita, fighting for the British. And then when they came back, they were paid with boots. How was that? How was the reaction? Does that explain why, even after fighting for the country, they were satisfied bila shamba?
That paid by boots.
Yes.
That is not the Kenyan struggle.
Okay. Yes,
that was a British Second World War.
The Kenyans who
where
fought for
the
British.
people of Kenya was conscripted into the army of the British government. They were taken to Middle East. They were taken to Ceylon. They were taken to any other places in the Middle East to fight against the Japanese for the British Empire.
Okay.
These are the people who were, when they came home, they were only awarded the boots
Yes.
they were using during the struggle in the fight in the army. That is quite different story with the people who fought for this country to remove the British government.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the bite there, especially for me, is they fought, but walirudi at least walikuwa wanaweza kupiga look, si ndio? But then, Dedan Kimathi is one of the heroes who are celebrated, and you got to work with him at some point.
Yeah.
And he worked for the British first. He fought for them in Japan before they came back.
Yes.
And he was he trained Kenyans on how to fight.
Yeah, that is where the story of the boots come.
Okay.
Because Dedan Kimathi was one of the people who went to fight for the British government, British government.
Okay.
And when they came back, they were demobilized to go home. They were not given anything. They were only told you can use those boots when you go back to the reserves. The reserves is their homes. British people who fought in that battle were brought to Kenya and now are given land. Some of them were being given 20,000 acres, 30,000 acres. But the people who went from this Kenya here to go and fight there, Africans, were given nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
And for the Mau Mau struggle...
And that is why people like Dedan Kimathi became angry with the British government, because he went to help them, and when he came back, he did not get anything out of that sweat.
As in they had fought, they had won?
Yeah.
But there was no money, just that they looked smart.
Correct.
Now, for the Mau Mau struggle, I'm told the British, we read that the British had superior weapons. And some of the strategies you used when fighting was snatching the guns from the white
British
people,
soldiers.
right? Other than the soldiers who knew how to use guns, did you have Mau Mau fighters who just snatched for the sake they did not know what that is and they had to be trained later?
No, that is not the case. Because when we went to war, the beginning of our war with the British, we were prepared.
You knew what a gun was?
Yes, of course. Dedan, Kimathi, and any other people who went to that war knew what the gun was.
And what
they knew how to use it. There was nothing strange. Therefore, when we went to the war, what we lacked is the sophisticated arms.
Okay.
We had a panga, we had a rungu. These are the weapons that we used in the first place. But later on, when the British came with the guns and everybody, and they entered into war with the Mau Mau, then we had a chance of snatching their guns when we fight and take them to the forest, to the freedom fighters.
And I think that's why I call bravery. You had the courage to snatch a gun from someone with a rungu.
Yes, of course. Of course. We could snatch a gun from a rungu, or we could use bare hands.
Bare hands?
Yes.
Unanyonga mzungu mpaka awachilie bunduki.
War is war, within the meaning of war. Anything that you had, you could use to fight the battle.
Did you guys know what a gun is? Like really back then, to approach a mzungu with a rungu, you approach them as a friend first, like they came, the way they came, and then now you go to the gun, you go for the gun. Were they just giving everybody guns? Because for a person who's trained?
No, we had very little guns that we had in our possession. Okay. And therefore we had to choose who is to be given a gun.
So you are sharing guns like textbooks?
A person who knows, yes, of course. A person who knows how to use it and who can use it to the maximum.
Okay. And did you ever find yourself in a situation that you are just the boardroom guy, strategy, you also went to field work sometimes?
Both. I went both. I started with the other freedom fighters, the guerrilla war.
Yes.
That we started in Nairobi here, in Nakuru, in Mombasa, in towns. That is where we started before we moved to the forest.
Okay.
Therefore, my job was fighting, of course, and organizing the liberation struggle.
Okay.
Organizing, I had to look after all the necessities to supply the people in the first and to supply the people in other areas where the Mau Mau battle was taking place.
And for all that the Mau Mau went through, right? The torture, the incarceration, you successfully sued the British government and won 2.6 billion.
Yes.
And after that, I understand that there are people who showed up as Mau Mau after the money. I don't know about Tukoflani Mau Mau, but I'm told there are people who showed up. How did you divide the money now? How did you...
Yeah.
The amount of torture someone went through?
That is simple. I personally took the case to England.
Yes.
I registered the case in England in the registries on the 25th of June 2009.